With Canada this time. Today's our last episode. As I mentioned, people are coming in. Welcome, welcome. The last episode of this month. So in the month of March, we are gonna go all around Canada asking about all kinds of things. We've asked so far about K-pop, about music, Canadian music, education, and we have a very special guest with us. For this month, she's very bubbly. She has been dancing even though it's not her turn yet. And she's running around. Yeah, that's her. There we go. We have Mercy with us. We want to welcome Mercy. Let's give her a round of applause. Let's clap for Mercy. Woo. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Hello. Nice to meet you again. We're really sad today's the last episode, but you can always get someone back as long as you feedback to us. So follow our host, okay? 청춘브랜딩. Follow the host and tell us that I want more of Mercy. Yeah. Always want to do that. All right, Mercy, maybe we can just have you introduce yourself for a little bit. We've done this so many times. But for those who just know Mercy for the first time today, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, my name is Mercedes, but I go by Mercy. I visited Korea last year for 7 months, and I currently live in a place called Windsor, Ontario, which is in Canada. I've been talking the past 3 episodes. This will be the 4th and sadly the last one. But I've had such a great time so far, and I can't wait to hear all your guys' questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mercy. We're going to run a round of applause to Mercy. Awesome. Yeah, everybody's really very glad to see all of you today. As I mentioned for the last episode, if you've been with us yesterday, today's talk is very special. It's called panel discussion with everybody, really. So whoever who wants to come and talk a little bit about whatever issue that we're sharing on, always welcome to come and share your piece of information from whichever country you're from. And today's issue talk is going to go from a range of different topics. But if you want to talk more on hey, I have this certain issue in my country, or I heard about this about Canada, what do you think? Yeah, type it into the box, or you want to come up and talk, you can tell us, hey, I want to talk, can I talk? And then you ask in the chat box, and I will definitely answer to you in a second or so. Yeah, so without further ado, let's just start with the first topic for today. What is the first question for today? Let's see. Okay, the first one, Canadian multicultural policy. So getting so heavy from the start. I think our PD is really wanting to go through the spices today, huh?
You guys really know how to pick those questions. But Canada's actually really good with our multicultural policy. It actually allows citizens to practice whatever religion that they would like to practice, along with keeping their identity. So they're able to do it without fear of being criticized or punished for anything. So everybody is able to be treated equally. Nobody is punished for or told not to practice their religion or what their beliefs are in Canada.
So you say it's really easy to go on the street as an individual and say, I believe in this and I believe in that. And usually people don't give you the weird eye. Is that how Canada is like?
I would say you definitely can do that. There's nothing that says you can't. But there's always going to be people that will disagree and agree. And I think you'll find that anywhere throughout the world.
Right, but when you use the word policy here, we see policy. It's does that mean that there's fine or any penalty that comes with people who don't follow this?
So, for example, if somebody is out, let's just say they're preaching the word of God or their God, nobody can be arrested and told they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, you could go and sing, kind of like what we did when we evangelized. You could do that anywhere in Canada, and you won't be told not to. You're allowed to do that. So there's no rules against being who you want to be, whether that be because it talks about your identity as well. So you will not be penalized, put in jail, fined, charged, or anything if you are like transgender, bi, gay, lesbian, or if you are Muslim, or if you are Catholic or Christian, or you get the idea. No matter what religion or whatever you identify as, in Canada we're very accepting of those things, and you will not be harmed, punished, or fined in any way, shape, or form legally. But people that don't hold any authority do sometimes create protests or create a ruckus. We just call them Karens. But that's just like a joke thing. That's not an actual thing. So don't be like, oh, she's Karen. She's not nice. No, it's just like a joke that we have in Canada. If somebody is against nice things or just is giving you a hard time about something that they really shouldn't, we just call them a Karen.
When you say Karen, do you mean like Karen, like the name?
Yes.
What if my name is Karen?
I actually have so many friends named Karen, and they are not the typical Karen. It's just most of the time, I guess in Canada, I don't know who came up with it or where it even originated from, but it's become very common, especially in the movie theaters, actually. You'll go to see a movie, and it'll be like, don't be a Tommy Texter, or don't be a negative Karen. And for whatever reason, whoever came up with this little cartoon, it's stuck. And anytime there's someone that's texting during a movie, they're called like a Tommy Texter, because they're ruining the movie for everybody else because they're texting with their bright light on during a movie. But a Karen is generally a person that is very controversial for no reason. And if you Google or YouTube Karen videos, you'll see what I mean. They're very confrontational people. But when it comes to topics like religion or your sexuality, these particular types of people, which can be male or female, they tend to be very narrow-minded and will try to create a problem for you, unfortunately. But they're all over the world. Nothing really to do with Canada. It's just something we say, and it is, even though Canada is very accepting of everything and there's no policy against doing or believing in what you believe in, there is those people that try to make it seem like there is, but there's not.
I definitely do have a Karen that I know. She was my music teacher, and she was very controversial. Okay, but that's our topic. Yeah, I think we started off with a very heavy start. Maybe just individual on your personal experience. Like if I go out on a normal day in Windsor, where Mercy lives, by the way, if some of you guys are new here. Yeah, in Windsor, then will I, on average, like how many different races would I see in your personal experience?
Oh my goodness. That is, let's just say, okay, I take a 20-minute bus ride to work every morning, okay? I probably see like a minimum of at least 10 different cultures.
10? That's a lot.
Yeah, like I said, Canada is extremely diverse. And Canada has a very mixed religion base. Like if I'm trying to think now, like we have so many different kinds of churches in my city. So there's all sorts of different religions that are practiced here. There's also a high non-religious community as well here. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place to live. You get to experience different things, you see other people's opinions, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. There's no, you have human rights here and freedom of speech, so you can say and pretty much anything you want, and you're not going to be ridiculed for it.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, yesterday in the previous episode, we were just talking about education, and especially for all of you guys who want to come to Canada for any education that you want to pursue, colleges, universities. But maybe one thing that would be useful, yeah, let's do that together. And one thing that would be useful is for races, we know that like with the multicultural policy and with the general Canadian kindness, Canadians are really kind people, by the way. As far I've met everybody who is so kind. But with that, like, are there any benefits or drawbacks just because like I'm of a certain race? So when I go to school, like it's easier or harder for me.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Like, for example, maybe I could be a minority in Canada, and they have like certain laws or some policy they can say, oh, if you're a minority, then you can have some like advantage to getting into certain schools or something like that.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it would be an advantage to get into schools, but I do know there is policies that, for example, I'll take work placement. So in order to get work, there is a policy. It's one of those things I don't pay attention to all the time.
Okay.
But we do have a policy where every workplace has to have a mandatory, a person who is like gay, transgender, or a person of a different ethnicity that is not Canadian. They typically are from other countries, and American I don't think counts in that. I think it's literally like if you're from Pakistan, China, or Australia, or you get the idea. Like if you're from another part of the world, the company is actually mandatory, has to hire you, and can't say no. So they have to have a certain amount of this within their company, and then especially newcomers that are here for school, there's also a limitation to how many hours a week they can work and what kind of jobs they can do. I hope that kind of answers it. I'm not sure if there's also extra benefits with that. I think that gets into a different question as well that you had asked.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it is because I know they have like subsidy for things, but I think that's another question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
How rare are you flying? What do you mean? How rare are you flying?
I'm not sure, but I think she's asking someone else who's running around. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The gummy bears are so cool. I was doing that earlier.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Like all of you guys who wanna come to the campfire, you can just grab a gummy bear and come onto the campfire if you want. Do anything, be comfortable, right?
Have you heard the gummy bear song?
Oh, would you like to sing for us? Is that a Canadian thing?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but it's not like a song I can sing. It's like a techno song, but it's so fun. And if you can Google it to play it like a dance party, you totally should.
Okay.
I can try to imitate it, but it's nowhere near like what the song is. It goes like, have you ever heard of Crazy Frog, like that song?
No.
Oh my goodness. It must be Canadian. We are very unique with our name titles. Anyway, it's a song about a gummy bear who dances around. He goes, I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. I'm a something, a gummy bear. Oh, yeah. And then he like shakes his body and wiggles and jiggles. It's so funny.
You know what?
It like has such a catchy beat to it. Like if you play it, oh, it's so catchy.
Yeah.
And the Crazy Frog song is even funnier.
Yeah?
And he makes lots of noise and he like races on a motorcycle. Anyway, totally off topic.
Yeah, totally off topic. But you know what? Well, we do need to have like some movements here. The music's actually being prepared right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Once that comes on, yeah, let's definitely go have a dance party. But yeah, we're talking about all the things. You know, like when we talk about gummy bears, and suddenly everything's like gone blank, right? You know what I'm talking.
Weird fun fact about myself. When I was little, I did not like my picture being taken, and at my mom's wedding, the only way the photographers could take a picture of me is if they gave me gummy bears. And so every time they gave me a gummy bear, then they could take my picture. So the photographer took like 20 photos, and I got no gummy bears, and I cried. When I tell you, my mom made this woman go out and buy me like 5 packs of gummy bears. I was 4 years old, and I remember having such a bellyache because I ate in probably one sitting 5 packs of gummy bears.
Wow, you can get a stomachache from gummy bear. That's very new. You know what? The music's prepared right now. Maybe we could have the music.
Awesome.
Dance party music cue.
Yep. Wow, how'd you go so fast? That's so cool. Gummy bear superpowers.
Great.
I told you we have some interesting songs, and if you saw the video to that, it's a green gummy bear jiggling around. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And I think he wears little shorts.
Yeah, we saw that here. Thank you for introducing us to Canadian music. Why didn't you say that on the K-pop episode?
I don't know. It didn't come to mind. Crazy Frog is also really funny. He has 2 songs. But he's more known for his sound effects. I actually think I saw some Crazy Frog stuff when I was in Korea.
Yeah, you know what? I understand what Canadian multicultural policy is now. It's very inclusive, including gummy bears and crazy frogs. Very inclusive.
Yes, we are very inclusive. Canada is very awesome, in my opinion, when it comes to being accepting of different things. Yeah, we're very supportive too. Like, we're more likely to help you out if you need assistance. Like, if you ask for help, even sometimes if you don't ask for help, a Canadian is more likely to ask you, do you need some help? Or they'll just help you.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do have one more question that could be out of topic before we move on to the actual other issue. Like, I've heard a lot about the Canadian race, and I think I actually asked you that before. Like, what exactly is the Canadian race? Have you heard about it?
The Canadian race, like the TV show?
Like whenever you talk, at the end of your sentences, you have this like race. Do you know what
race or A?
Yeah.
I did notice sometimes, I don't notice it at the end, but sometimes I do say a or sorry. I do say a couple things. I'm not sure why. We just do that.
Oh yeah, and like you guys do like saying sorry too, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing's about you guys and something you're like, oh sorry.
Yeah, we are very yeah. I know it.
Mhm.
Or we'll be like, oh, tell me about it, eh?
Wow.
So Canadian.
Yeah,
Let's go about that. How are you gonna go about that and touching the moose, eh?
Okay.
That's my Canadian accent for you guys. It's very, very down south. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like Mercy anymore. Okay.
No.
Interesting. Okay, let's move on to the actual talks, okay? Number 2 of the question today is pros and cons of living in Canada. Yesterday we talked about the pros and cons of education, so maybe we could leave education to the last unless anybody has a question about education. Living in Canada, we could maybe, let me help you with it a little bit. Like when you talk about the standard of living, right, in a certain place, there are certain factors that we do look out for, like the price, the food, sanitary stuff, a lot of things. So maybe let me just help you with giving you a little guide on how's this in Canada. So let's see. Let's talk about maybe the level of wealth first, generally. I think we talked a little bit when we talked about the tipping culture in Canada.
Yes. There is tipping culture here. Hold on. There's someone asking a question. It says, I'm preparing to study in Canada. Is there anything I shouldn't do in Canada? Anything you shouldn't do in Canada? Don't touch a Canadian goose's eggs. That is illegal. People that do that get charged because they're kind of like our sacred animal and they're everywhere. It's the thing I called cobra chickens in the first episode.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so they have, there's geese or goose if there's one. They lay eggs a certain time of year. It's actually mating season right now for them. So some Ukrainian cultures, they decorate eggs for one of their festivals. And it's been pretty much banned in Canada, but it does happen, sadly. They'll take a goose's egg because it is quite big and easier to paint. So don't do that. If you come to Canada, do not take the goose's eggs or the babies, or it will be really hard to get close to a goose unless they're in an area that's pretty populated. It's different per goose. Some geese will let you pet them. Some geese will just hiss at you and chase you and trying to nip at you. So don't touch the geese. That's the only recommendation to not do in Canada. What else don't do in Canada?
Can you have guns in Canada?
No, actually. So there is guns in Canada, but you need a license. And once you have a gun license, you can only shoot it at a gun range. Whereas in America, you can have a gun with or without, and you can shoot it wherever you want. Whereas in Canada, you need to have the designated area that's licensed for you to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, generally there's no weapons here. Not allowed.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, hopefully that does. But back to your question in regards to, was it the rent or wages?
Yeah, we're talking about the pros and cons of living in a certain place. So I was just trying to break it down for you. So we started with the wealth.
Yes, so wealth is different. So Canada is broken down, I think you could, how do I say this? The more expensive areas in Canada would be Toronto, Vancouver, maybe some parts of BC, and Montreal's decent. It's not super expensive. But they're only expensive places because they're more populated. So the higher the population, the more there is to do there. Also, Vancouver in Canada has a special, how do I say? So there's an area here, but it's not the same idea. Have you ever heard of like cottages? You go away for the summer and you can like rent a cottage.
Yeah.
So they have this idea, but year round in Vancouver, mainly for the people who work on a cruise ship. So you can actually work on a cruise ship in Vancouver, which is really nice, and it goes all throughout the Caribbean. Yeah. So there's that as a bonus. If you move to Canada and work on a cruise ship, you get to go around the Caribbean islands as well if you work on a cruise ship.
So cool.
But they
living the pirate dream.
Yeah, and all your stuff is paid for on the cruise ship, so like that kind of housing is awesome.
Wow.
So your food is accommodated, your housing is accommodated on a cruise ship. And if you sign a contract, I think it's like 6 months at a time. There's also like little mini houses that are also becoming more popular throughout Canada, more so in BC. Cheaper places for living are hit or miss depending on what province you're in, and depending on their population, like how many people are there or the climate that you're in, if it's secluded. So most places, for example, if you're up in the Rocky Mountains, or if you're in BC, or if you're in Thompson, Manitoba, which I happen to go to, it's a very, very small place, probably like 1,000 people, and you can see the northern lights there, which are beautiful. You ever get a chance to go to like Winnipeg or Manitoba, and you can see rainbow-colored lights, like the aurora. The cost of living there is cheaper. Schools, I'm not sure which schools are out there. You just got to be careful of, Canadian wildlife, like wolves and bears and moose. A lot of moose, which we call elk, but yeah.
All right. We definitely talked a lot about food and...
Yeah, no. I'm just talking about the climate. Like, if you move out there, like, your cost of living is going to be based on what climate you're in and what province you're on, because the price of living varies not only on what type of house. So, for example, in Korea, you guys seem to have only one type of housing, or two types actually, because you guys have the traditional housing too, but most people in Korea live in an apartment. So in Canada, we have full-on anywhere between 4 levels, 5 levels, 3-level houses with back and front porches and yards on top of that, which I found was very uncommon when I was in Korea. It was very rare to find a person who had a house with a front porch, let alone a lawn on top of that. Unless you were in like Gangnam or something. It's very fancy. Very lucky folk in Gangnam. But in Canada, it's very common to have a house with a front porch, back porch, and a backyard and front yard where you can basically have a picnic in your front yard or backyard. Having property, like having a house, if you're buying or renting, your price of living will be different. If you have a certain acre amount of land, you'll be paying a different amount. So I hope that clarifies. Like, these are all things to consider when you're moving to Canada, if you're going to rent or if you're going to rent to buy, which personally it depends on, again, what province you're in. Renting to buy can actually be a savior because every month part of your rent goes towards paying to that house. So eventually you will own that house. So we have programs like that as well. But if you're just coming to stay like a couple years, renting is the way to go. And usually we have all-inclusive, so all your utilities is included. But again, it varies province to province.
Is Monopoly a Canadian game? Because that sounds like what I do in Monopoly.
Yes, Monopoly. I don't know if Monopoly is full-on Canadian, but we definitely play it a lot here. I'm going to Google that. Is Monopoly Canadian?
Yeah, I know.
They also just changed how the Monopoly man looked, and I was appalled. I was like, I swear he had a monocle, and now he doesn't.
No, like you were talking about paying, right? If you pay like a certain amount for how many times, and then like you get the house, it's like, that sounds like a game I know.
Yeah, it's very accurate. It's actually one of the ways that teachers teach kids like how to use money for the first time. They introduce it through Monopoly Junior, actually.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So
Living in a time where there's only Monopoly without the Junior, you know.
Yeah, no, so they got a Monopoly Junior, and it teaches children about spending, saving, what properties, like at the time you don't realize it, but it really does long term. It helps. It's one of those educational games.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be the game that causes the family to fight and flip a table. I've been in both situations.
Yeah. It definitely sounds interesting. We should play in church one day.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Good game. All right. I think maybe one more thing we do want to ask about pros and cons of living in Canada would be safety. And I know it's something that's very close to your heart as well. So I think Mercy can offer us a very candid response. Like, is it okay, maybe we should answer this a little bit more catered to the audience today, because it seems like a lot of us are from Asia or from Korea specifically. So you've lived in Korea for a bit. You know how Korea is like. So do you think, like, what's the safety like in Canada? Are there anything that we should take note of if we were to live in Canada as an Asian or as a Korean?
If you forget it somewhere, it's gone. So for example, what I mean by that is when I was in Korea, if you were to forget like a laptop or a cell phone on a subway, you could generally go back and find it the next day or call someone and you'll find your item. Mm-hmm. In Canada, unfortunately, it's kind of similar to France. People do unfortunately pickpocket here. There's people that if they find your wallet on the ground, they will take it. And your identification, I would keep very close to you. There's a lot of people that just take it to sell it in that aspect. So, especially, like I just was in Toronto, one of the capitals. So my city is not that big for that. But the busier cities, the more popular cities are very hectic, like Seoul. So imagine how busy it is in Seoul. It's slightly less in Toronto, but it is just busy all the time. Transportation is not always 24 hours. Some areas there is 24-hour transportation, but I would just say be mindful of your surroundings at all times. If you ever go to Canada, that's something personally I have experienced a few times in my life, unexpectedly in different areas, mainly the downtown areas, because people, they're drinking and they're not in the right mind space, so they tend to want to take your money or your ID. So just be careful. Yes, buses run. Okay, so buses do tend to run till about, I think the last bus is around 11 p.m. on a weekend. Weekdays, depending on where you're going. So there's only like 2 buses in the whole city that will run after midnight, and they only run, I think, till 2 a.m. in the morning. It's very rare. Just in my city, though, just in my current city, buses run that time. In Toronto, I believe they run 24/7. Yeah. So if you're in Toronto or Vancouver, I'm sure buses run 24/7. At least it did when I was there just the past couple days. But my city has a cap. They only run 2 buses, and they're like once every hour or something like that. After a certain time. I think it's after 7 p.m. the buses will only run once every hour, whereas throughout the day they usually run every 15 minutes. Right. If that helps, I don't know. But in Toronto, it's like every 5 minutes you'll have a bus or a rail car, which is similar to a train, but it's run by electricity and it's outside. It's not in like a subway system.
Yeah, I think related to the question as well, a bit earlier, somebody asked about walking at night. I think he's trying to ask about girls walking at night. Is that safe for them?
No. I should say this. Okay, you're not allowed to have pepper spray here. It's against the law to carry pepper spray. But my dad is very protective. So he buys bear spray because, like I said, bears are common in Canada, but not in Toronto or the big cities like Vancouver. You will probably never see a bear. Toronto, you will never see a bear. My city, you will never see a bear unless you go to the zoo. You do not need to worry about a bear. But you can go to the States or in Toronto and just buy bear spray and carry that with you, and it works just the same as pepper spray to protect yourself at night. They also have these really cool devices they just came out with, especially for women. It looks like normal jewelry. They also have keychains for men. There's two different versions. So one is a necklace, and if you hit the necklace, like there should be a secret hidden button on it, it will send a message, an alert of your location to 5 contacts of whomever you choose. Or you can set it just to call emergency, and it will send it to the police station, and they'll be able to come to you immediately if you're in danger. There's also a thing called like Life Alert, which does the same thing. Emergency vehicles will come right to your spot. Or they have this other thing, which I thought was kind of cool. You can attach it to your phone or attach it to your purse, and you'll be able to track it. So if someone stole your phone, for example, it's better than Find My iPhone because most people, when they get a phone, when they steal a phone, they disable that right away. It's one of the first things they do. So if you have something that, might just look cute on the phone, they might not think twice about it, and it can be a tracker for your phone. And you're able to log in on a separate computer, type in the number, and you'll be able to find your phone. Or it's the same idea. You could text your mom or text a friend and be like, hey, I need you to find me, like right now I'm in trouble. And it will be able to locate you where you are. And it's pretty accurate. Or a pet. If you have a pet and you want to know where they are because they escaped, it's also great for that. Put it on their collar.
Yeah, so I guess it's not safe for girls to be at night. There aren't that many buses unless you're at Toronto. Actually, wondering about, like in Seoul, there's like really vibrant life. Like doors are still open for a lot of shops. Certain streets, they just have it open 24/7. What about like Canada? What is the time that like the whole street turns dark and like everybody's just home?
There is always street lights on. The street lights never go off until like 7 a.m.
Oh.
So street lights, the lights will always be lit. There is dark alleyways. Not all of our alleyways are lit. But generally you stick to the main roads, you'll be fine. You'll be safe. You'll be in public. And again, like I said, Canadians are generally really helpful. So if you feel like someone is following you, generally you can go into any store, any convenience store, any coffee shop and be like, hey, I feel like I'm being followed. Could you help me? And they could call the police for you, or they can stay with you and make sure you get home safely. We also have, say you're out drinking with your friends, there are special programs that most bars advertise where it like gets you home safely. So, hey, you're drinking, you don't have a designated driver. They'll be able to give you, especially if you're a single woman, it's handy because they'll arrange a taxi for you so you don't have to worry about like a stranger taking you home and saying, oh, I'll drop you off at home, but they really don't. So the company that you go into the bar will have a service for you to make sure you get home safely, which is nice to have. That's like a security measure. Sorry, there's a lot of messages. I'm just trying to read them all.
Yeah, I'm trying to read some for
What
you.
What do you mean? Well, what question do you mean? What do I mean? If I go to Canada, I will protect you. Oh, protect me. You'll protect me. Oh, you're so sweet.
Wow. I think God is so little fanboy.
You pay what? Winnie, can you translate?
I think okay, that's the name of the guy.
Oh.
Flashing hearts at you. So this lady with green hair is asking, what do you mean to the guy who's flashing hearts at you? I think that's what she's saying.
Oh. He's saying he'll protect you if you go out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's been here for like every episode.
Yes.
Okay. I think.
Are you in Toronto? Do I need to be like next time I'm in Toronto? Hey, come protect me. Just kidding.
No. Well. Oh.
But no. Generally, if you go out in a group, you won't have to worry as much. So never go anywhere by yourself. If you absolutely have to go by yourself, like I said, just make sure you buy bear spray. You're fine. Always try to make friends. I know making friends is the hardest. I noticed that when I went to Korea, when you're in a new place. Hello Talk was awesome for me to use to meet other people. You can do the same thing for Canada. Yeah.
I see.
Just make sure you make friends, meet people. Never go anywhere alone. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think we've definitely sidetracked. Well, thank you for all the questions going in. Definitely thank you for the legitimate questions. Okay. Next question that we want to talk about before anything goes on. I think maybe we'll skip question 3. We'll go to question 4. Question 4 immediately. Characteristics of Canadian men and women. I think this is a very interesting topic for everyone. There's so many different characteristics. It's not just men and women themselves, but a Canadian man and a Canadian woman. It could be like when we asked this to the Singapore guest last series, they answered it like according to the whole Canadian people, for example, in general. But then over there they started to find, hey, actually our guys do this, actually our guys do that. Yeah.
I'd say cool. Our men are men and women are very outdoorsy, meaning we're not afraid to get dirty. Like, I'll go fishing and I'll get a fish, or I'll go camping outside and sleep on the ground in a tent. We're very independent women. We like to try and do things ourselves. There are some that aren't like that as well, but majority of us are daddy's girls in that sense.
Ooh, okay.
And we're hard workers. A lot of us are farmers in Canada, or we know how to put things of a car. Like, I know how to do some things. Like, I can change a brake pad and your oil and change a tire. That's about it with the car. But I know some women that actually can change your whole engine and do things. Like, they're great. Women in Canada are very about women empowerment. Men and women can be treated equally and equal rights and all that. So it's really great that Canada has that, and we have that ability to be treated as equals, along with equal pay as being hit or miss depending on what job you do. But yeah, girls are definitely more willing to do hard work, where I would say that as a whole. And we're almost all of us did Girl Guides as a kid, which is like they teach you how to read trees, to know north, east, south, west. Men are very, Canadian men. That's a hard one.
Okay, just to give you a little thing about what the Singapore episode said, right? One thing about Singapore men is that, or at least maybe you could say this as like a female expectation of men in Singapore, and maybe in Asia actually. They shared about the 5 C's. Okay, what are the 5 C's? Cash, career, car, condo, which is an apartment, and then country club. Like, that's the 5 C's that everybody want to have in a man. So that's why a lot of the Singaporean or Asian men, they try to bring themselves up to live up to this standard so that they can be popular to women. Is that a thing in Canada?
I have never heard that being a thing, but I know roughly every woman wants a man that has a career, drives, doesn't do drugs or smoke. That is really hard. Canadian men smoke, whether it be cigarettes or marijuana. And as of like the past 5 years, it's hard to find a man that actually, has a career, is not lazy. Almost every single man is either preoccupied with the car, 24/7, car comes first, then the girlfriend, or they're obsessed with video games. You will find occasionally the businessman who's all about business. Even the girlfriend is business.
Oh.
So it's very like your girlfriend is a business deal. You have a business proposal. And I don't mean that amazing K-drama called Business Proposal, because that is a really good movie. But not like that. Do not imagine that when I say businessman.
Okay.
Yes. Just making that clear. But men are very kind here. I will say that. There is a good amount, especially the country boys. If you find yourself a country Canadian boy, they're very hardworking, very loyal. They are the kind of men that will build you a house of your dreams or try to get you what you want. They'll sacrifice what they want to make you happy. And in turn, sometimes it's not even a sacrifice for them. They'll gladly not play video games for a night if it makes you happy to spend time with them doing whatever it is that makes you happy. Like, they're very kind in that way. And some are really good cooks, especially with the barbecue. Almost every Canadian man I know loves to barbecue. Yeah.
I see, barbecue. Okay, you know what? I just pulled out some pretty interesting statements about what people think about Canadian people in general, okay? Not just men or women. Okay. Number 1, Canadians are casual and informal. Agree, disagree?
Agree. We are all casual. There's no formal talk. There's no different ways of speaking in Canada. The way you speak to someone, how do I say this? I think I said this before. I am generally, when I meet somebody, very polite. It is just a normal thing to me. Whether you're an elder or someone my age or younger, I will still treat you with respect and say please, say thank you, may I please have this. Those are typical things that we would say when we first meet you, or we'll hold the door open for you, or a car door. Men sometimes, chivalry is dead sometimes, and men don't hold doors. But sometimes they do. So do women. But I would definitely say there's no formal way of talking. But some people, they'll ask you, can I call you by your first name, or would you prefer me to call you by your last name? That will be a topic of formal and informal, I think. If they first met you, they'll be like, oh, Miss, I don't know, let's say, so my last name, I'll just say Edwards. Let's just say my last name is Edwards. They'll be like, oh, hello, Miss Edwards. And I would be like, oh, thank you, but you can call me by my first name, and my first name is Mercy, and then they'll just call me by that. That would be the only...
It sounds like a drama I mean, it's just so new, okay? It's so new.
Yeah. Or they'll just be like, oh, hello, miss. How are you today?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, why is that? Thank you. You know, it's just like, am I back in England?
Sorry, it comes out.
Okay. Yeah, but
for those of you who don't know, I have a very mixed accent. Sometimes it's British, sometimes it's Canadian, sometimes it's American. Because I live border city, but I was raised by my British nana. So. I'll say sorry.
Okay. Sorry, I heard that. Okay. Anyway, Canadian, sorry, right? When they talk about being laid back, though, they really hear that. It's about the way they wear the dress themselves as well. Apparently, they say they dress for a job to meet like a professional dress code, but they generally don't flash expensive shoes, accessories. Outside regular business hours, it's common to see people walking around in a very laid-back outfit, like yoga pants, sweatpants, sandals, and apparently Canadian brand Roots is one that embodies this entire casualness. Is that true?
That is true. Those socks that I gave you are Roots.
Oh,
those big socks that you thought were like slippers. Yeah, we wear those in the winter.
I have trouble wearing them. Okay, I have no shoes that fit.
They're really warm and they're thick. Yeah. I usually just wear them in the house, like, to keep my feet warm when it's cold. But generally, yes. Men and women, unless they're at work or they're going out to a fancy dinner or they're going out to a date, most people do not dress up. If they're not working, they'll just down in casual stuff, whether that be yoga pants or sweatpants, jeans and a t-shirt. Like, they're very casual. Some workplaces even have a casual dress code, so you don't have to wear a suit or a dress. But I believe there's always a skirt dress code for how long your skirt has to be.
Right.
But yeah, generally outside of work, you don't need to worry about that. And since we're on the topic of dress code, Toronto, I believe also in Vancouver, there is no law against being topless. So be prepared. Some women don't wear a top. That was a surprise for me when I went to Toronto because I did not know that. Yeah, or a bra. Some women, actually it's all over Canada, you don't have to wear a bra. It's not mandatory. So, yeah.
I see.
And breastfeeding in public is also allowed.
Oh, really?
Yep. So there's that as well. That would be a culture difference. I think they're getting more common, like for special places for nursing mothers to go, just so it's like more private. But just don't be shocked if you happen to see it at a park or on the bus. Yeah.
But it's definitely rude to stare at it, right?
Oh, it's just rude to stare in general, but yeah. Also, making eye contact in Canada is very common. So if you're walking down the street and you see someone and you make eye contact, 9 times out of 10, they'll look at you, they'll smile, or they'll do a head nod, or they'll wave at you. Even if they don't know you, it's just our way of saying hello. And it's like a kind, like, good way to start or end your day. We just will generally, if we don't know you, we'll smile, give you a little head nudge, or wave.
That's really nice. I love that. You know, I think we've got a last question from this guy, your friend. What do men
and women fight a lot? What do you mean? Like in relationships or like box? Are you trying to fight me? I'm just kidding.
Relationships or what?
Yeah. Well, his question was, do men and women fight? I'm trying to ask, what do you mean? Do you mean do men and women fight in a relationship? Oh, as a couple? That varies from couple to couple. I want to say the couples, I think no matter where you are on the globe, wouldn't you agree, Winnie? No matter where you are in the globe, I think couples fight, but that makes them stronger if they're able to say their differences and be able to communicate that and work through it together, like make compromises and hear the other one out. And that helps strengthen your bond, like as a couple. It gives you the skills to be like, hey, like I really want this. I really love this person. Let's work it out. Good or bad, like I think all couples fight. I wouldn't say couples fist fight. I think maybe I've seen only twice in my life a girlfriend that was drunk and the boyfriend wanted to take her home and she was hitting him. That was about it, but it didn't faze him because he was like, you're drunk. And he put her on her back and brought her home. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
actually,
about the extent.
Question while you're on this, like we talked about how Canadians like to say sorry. So when people are in it's like they're dating, right? Like, isn't it very easy? Like, wouldn't they fight less because they say sorry to each other all the time?
No, they'll start using it as sarcasm sometimes. That is so cool, by the way. I don't know how you're doing that, speed running around the fireplace. But no, Canadians, how do I say? Oh, so I will use Korean dating culture, or at least what I experienced in Korea. It was like you go on 3 dates and you're automatically dating. That is not
Okay.
how it works in Canada. In Canada, you legit have to ask a woman, do you want to be my girlfriend? Or do you want to be my boyfriend? And then you guys are dating. That's how it is. Also, there is a very frustrating dating culture here where there's different stages of dating. I feel like this should have just been a topic all on its own. I'll be honest. There's like seeing each other, which means you guys can see, like you're talking. Okay, hold on. Talking comes first. So you're talking to someone, but you can talk to 5 different people at the same time and go on dates with 5 different people until you say you're seeing each other exclusively. Then it's just you and that person are going out on dates to see if you guys want to date. And then once you decide, okay, we're going to be exclusive and we're going to call each other boyfriend, girlfriend, then it's like, okay, it's just you and just them. Nobody's seeing anybody else on the side. But until that boyfriend, girlfriend thing is established in Canada, it is sad to say, but people date more than one person. Like they'll go out on dates with, I knew a girl that went on like 3 different dates, like with 3 different men within the same day. And I was like, seriously?
Oh, yeah, that is sad.
Yeah, so it's, dating in Canada is very different than dating in Korea. There's also people that believe in open relationships. There's people that believe in monogamy. It's just, please, if you ever do dating apps, please just communicate with them and be like, this is what I want, and be straight up forward. Girls would appreciate that a lot more because there's a lot of fake accounts out there, which I think Korea has a lot of that as well. So just be yourself, be honest with what your expectations are and what you want. And if you genuinely like somebody, tell them, because chances are they might not know. Yes, and be kind. Yes, and don't push yourself or push them into an uncomfortable situation, which most people are good at telling their emotions in Canada. That's a huge thing here. I think you've known me long enough, Winnie. I usually tell you how I'm feeling. So we're very feely people in Canada. Not all the people, though. Like, I think men are more closed to their feelings, but I think that's typical anywhere.
Yeah. All right, I hope that answers the question. We definitely covered a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things today, from multicultural policy all the way to like men and women in Canada. Hope it's definitely useful for you. I think especially for this month's episode, we talked a lot in the point and perspective of like helping you guys of like wanting to immigrate or study in Canada or like, date Canadian man or woman, whoever the heck you guys are thinking of. Hopefully this has been interesting for you guys. If it's interesting, maybe we could get a round of applause for Mercy, maybe clapping for Mercy. If you like the content, definitely. I do want to do that.
If you guys ever have any questions, like if you did plan on moving to Canada and you know where you are, feel free to reach out to the host and they can get a hold of me. And I can probably help give you some tips on either where to look for housing, like what's the best website to use, or if you're in Toronto and you need help finding certain cafes, and actually in Toronto specifically, there's actually a whole town called Koreatown, which is really awesome, all the way down to having a noraebang, to a ton of Korean restaurants, libraries, cafes, stuff like that. But yeah, if you ever have questions about Canada, just feel free to reach out to the host and they can ask me those questions and we can get in touch and I can help you out.
That's what the Canadians like, very helpful, very polite. Oh yeah, guys, I just want to also definitely give a shout out to Mercy. She's actually not in her best condition today, but she's like, this is the last episode. I want this to be the best one. So she's actually here despite having a lot of difficult circumstances. So just want to go and give a round of applause. Yeah, give a round of applause to Mercy again. Woohoo!
Oh, you're so nice.
You're so nice. All right.
Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, we definitely want to take a group picture together. So before we run it.
If everybody get gummy bears or wands, like that'd be so cool.
Oh, okay. We heard it. Can we all get like the gummy bears or the wands? Get yourself the magic things, and then let's take a picture together. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how, but somehow I have zoomed so much, all I can see is my forehead.
Wow.
Oh, no. Oh, okay, there we go. No, never mind. I can see our backs. That's all I can see.
Please come forward.
I love
and then
Team Chi-Chi. Who's Chi-Chi? I want to know who Chi-Chi is.
Chi-Chi?
Yeah, the girl's yellow sweater says, I love Team Chi-Chi.
Oh. Cookie? Cookie?
Cookie? I love Cookie. Meat? I love meat.
Yeah, let's take pictures together.
Okay, everybody get in the middle. Let's take a photo for the last show about Canada.
Yeah, maybe we could have Mercy come to the center too. Where's Mercy?
I'm over here. Hold on. Canadian dating, which is weird, especially if you're moving to Canada and don't know where to start. I could help you with that.
Learn a lot of cool things about cocoa chickens and carrots. Yeah, for sure.
And Tommy Texters.
And Tommy Texters, for sure. Yeah. We're going to see you next week, and follow the host for more information. Find us on YouTube, Youth Branding Talk Concert. We're always there. And then just get in contact with us. If you want to be on the show as well, just hit us up anytime, and we'd love to see you on the show together. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now. Bye-bye.
What's the price on that? When you work, but you work, I invest in that. Ain't many ways, but your ass so fat. Let me slide in your wing, breast me. Let me see it bounce like a jet ski. Hey, I know you wishing you was like me. Like late night calling me for some good beats.